Latinos Out Loud podcast. Yeah, that's what this is. Latinos Out Loud.
Yo, 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 LOLeros. Hi, you know I'm here at the home studio, yo. I love being at home sometimes because, first of all, I could use all my Betty Boop cups, which I have a lot of them, and my dog is here chilling. He's so old. And no kids today. Kids are at day camp. Woohoo! Thank God for the summer. All right, this is a good time. This is going to be a great episode. As you know, these guests that come on, I know I say this every episode. You probably hear me say this every single time. It's like a broken record, but these guests and today's guest is amazing and full of life and full of stories to share. So I would love to introduce her and bring her on right now. You know her, you've seen her on the news networks. She's a journalist, she's an author, she's a finance specialist. Like, she will help get your finances in check. Okay, please put your hands together, put your vacuums down for Carmen Rita Wong. Hi, Carmen.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Put your vacuums down. I love it. That's a good time to listen to podcasts like this.
Right? I
Yep.
listen to podcasts often in my earbuds while I'm doing chores,
Yep.
while I'm cleaning up after these two very, I don't want to say dirty because they're like clean, like they showered, but dirty in that
They're
they
all
throw their
kids.
clothes
All
everywhere,
kids.
my two
Yeah.
boys. So I don't know, where do you listen to podcasts mostly? Or
No, I
how?
listen to it in the morning when I'm getting ready, always, when I'm walking to the gym, when I'm walking anywhere, because we're in the city, right? So we're going to the subway, wherever I'm walking around, I've got the podcast going. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I either do music or podcasts. Like, I have to be in the mood. You know, if I'm going to listen to a podcast, I listen to every single word, so I can't have that many distractions around me. Whereas for
Yeah.
music, it's just like head bopping stuff. I'll do like 90s reggae, 90s hip hop, something like
Nice.
that.
Freestyle.
Freestyle, yes. You're my
Right.
dream guest. I wanted to interview you in every way.
I
Remix.
love it.
So, Carmen, we know you from television. You are on the networks talking about finance. You've written several books. Now you have this book, Why Didn't You Tell Me? And y'all, not only did I get a copy of the book from Carmen, which was very special when I opened the mail, but I also got a handwritten note, which I use as a bookmark. This book in particular is very different than those that you've penned before. Off air, I kind of said to you that I feel like you poured your heart and soul into the pages of this book. And as I flip the pages, I feel your heart and your soul and your stories and your secrets. Why the jump? How did you make that jump to this
Truth.
kind of book?
I would love to say it wasn't a big jump in the sense that I've been a writer since I was a kid. It's what I've always wanted to do. And yes, I covered finance as a, journalist, but I had advice columns. I wrote for the Times. I wrote. I wrote for my TV show. I wrote my Today Show stuff. Like, words coming out of me is what I did and do. It's just that I didn't have the opportunity to do the creative stuff. You know how it is. Eldest of the five girls, gotta succeed, gotta make the money, gotta help the family, all of those things. And I retired from doing that about 10 years ago. No, maybe 8. Just to focus on the creative endeavors. And thankfully, I'm able to do that and blessed to do that. But it was hard earned. And writing this book, it definitely was a very big undertaking.
Yeah.
Very big one. Yeah.
In this book, you explore identity, you explore family secrets that you learned later in life.
Mm.
So, we want the LOLeros, our hive, to go out and purchase the book. But without giving away any spoilers, can you give us top line, like, what were the goals that you had in mind and the secrets that you wanted to share when you were writing this book?
Well, the book is, yes, the secrets are a huge part of it, and the secrets were my mother's, right? Um, but the book really is, and it's called Why Didn't You Tell Me? Because I'm talking to my mother's ghost. She's been passed for a while, and I really wanted to answer that question. Why didn't she tell me something so big as to who my biological father was? And why did she tell me an untruth, I call it, when she was confronted and said it was somebody else, but it was really somebody. And then I had to go on this journey trying to find, but it really was about my relationship with her and understanding her as a Dominican woman who came up through so much, as many of our people have, through so much hardship, through so much family tragedy, and families, keeping those secrets and whispering, but don't, talk about this, or don't talk about, who's passed away or why they did or how they did or who's married to who or with who. It's that culture, which of course I love so much, but also I wanted to show that it's okay, um, because so many of us have these stories. So many of us have these stories. I mean, since the book came out, I have heard from so many people, actually of all backgrounds, who are like, you made me feel less shame. And that's what I wanted to do, really, was just to be like, look, I read other people's stories, I read memoirs and other people's personal stories, and many times they're just very inspired because you feel seen, you feel like somebody gets it. And I knew that a lot of other people had a similar situation to me, so I wanted to share it.
Let's talk a little bit about the situation.
Yeah.
So, I also don't want to give away spoilers either, but you had a relationship with your father. You thought that he had more of a relationship with your mother than he actually had. It seemed as though he was, well, can you tell us the story in your own words? Because I want to know, did you feel betrayed? How did you feel once you learned these secrets that your father may not have been exactly who you thought he was to you?
Yeah. Yeah, so my mother, Dominicana, we're uptown
Huepa.
people.
Hmm.
Okay, we're uptown people. My father, I was raised with Papi. I can call him Papi Wong when I talk about him with other people. My older brother and I are the Wongs. And Papi was pretty much, Chinese gangster from Chinatown. And that was, they were married by my abuelo for my mother's papers, as is done, as was done. And this was way back. This was the late 50s, early 60s. And we, my mother divorced him, remarried a Anglo-American guy that she met, because we lived up near Columbia University, so he was there. La 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 la. Had my four sisters, but all to say, I was raised with Papi Wong as my father, and then this stepfather. As the truth started to come out, which I always kind of suspected because I always felt very different than my siblings and I was treated a little differently, um, my mother was dying, and this truth started spilling out that I was somebody else's. I did feel, of course, I felt betrayed. I am betrayed. I was betrayed. I think, also, lies are distance between you and the people you love.
Mm.
I really believe that. You can't, it's really hard to love when lies sit between you. And I felt always growing up that that was something big between us that was just living there. And even with excavating it, it still was just very painful. But what I wanted to do is, instead of being angry, I wanted to understand why and how somebody could do this to their child. Um, and I think, of course, because my mother's been passed away for a while, it makes it a little easier because she was difficult, Guadalupe.
Oh,
Guadalupe was difficult. um, but I had that distance, and also many, many years of therapy to look at her not just as my mother, but as a human being,
yeah.
right? A separate person who made decisions probably the best she could. And it wasn't about forgiveness, because forgiveness requires the person, frankly, to apologize and change their behavior. And she did not do that. My fathers did not do that. It's about just getting it. And that brought me peace. That brings you a lot of peace when you can just understand why someone does something, even if it's awful.
Yeah.
It brings you a lot of peace.
How did the family react to this book when it came
Depends
out?
on which family. Papi was, really old. He passed away 3 years ago, but the book came out
I'm
before he passed.
sorry.
But he, thank you, honey. But he he wouldn't read it. I mean, he was very proud. Look, he was just proud my name was on the cover of another book, but he wouldn't read it. And I never told him what was in it, and I never told him that I knew that he
Wow.
wasn't my father,
Wow.
because I made the promise to my brother, my older brother, who also passed away, who I'm
I'm
very,
sorry.
very, very close with. We were like twinsies. He asked me not to tell Poppy because Poppy didn't have any family here. All his Chinese family was gone. So I just never told him. And it didn't seem like it was, what would it do? He was old and alone. So I just took care of him till he passed. And the my mother's second family, I'll call it, my stepfather and my siblings, I love my sisters to bits. I helped raise them, as we do,
Mm-hmm.
as the eldest daughters. But one read it and the others haven't, and that's okay because it's not their story. Everybody in the family has their own story,
Right.
and their story is not mine to tell. I just could tell my story. I did tell you this though. I did get calls from cousins.
Mm.
The primos came out of the woodwork. They were coming out, Facebook messaging me, calling me. I mean, cousins I haven't heard from in decades. I mean, we're talking like since I was like 20 years old. And they were just like, oh my God. So, because I was searching for my father as I was writing this book, I still didn't know he was. And the word got out I was searching in the family. And they came in with different stories and they were trying to help me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's so, first of all, the Dominican, the bochinche. Tú leíste el libro de Carmen. Ajá. Ay, Dios mío
Oh my
santo.
God,
I
it
could
went so
imagine.
far. Oh, it's crazy. I couldn't believe how far it went. Yeah, to people I haven't seen in years, decades.
Yo,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine because my mother's on the phone with my tia when like one of the cousins uploads a racy picture on Facebook. So I can't even imagine a real book coming out with the family bochinche. The
Yeah,
phone, there would be, I don't, busy signals don't exist anymore, but the phone would have a busy signal if that were the case here.
crazy. Mira, who's Carmen's father? Oh my God,
Oh,
Guadalupe, what does she do?
oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah.
She
Maybe.
found out. She found out. I kind of knew it was, but I didn't want to tell her
No.
anything.
I
So
know. Crazy.
So crazy. I'd like to dig into your writing process for
Yeah.
this book. We sort of talked about the distinction between the books that you had penned before this. What was your writing process here? Did you go in chronological order? Did you take notes? Did you journal? What was the process like in putting this together?
Well, actually, decades of me, I don't want to say telling the story in my head, but being very conscious of, and if you're a writer, natural writers tend to have this constant writing happening in their heads. That was happening since I was young, and then in my late 20s, early 30s, I started writing um, on the side and just really thinking about what I was doing and why and how I wanted it to be shaped. But the real writing, at the end of the day, when it started, it took about 5 years
Wow.
for me to get this book out and done and sold. It took a lot of work understanding, and don't forget I'm a trained journalist and writer, so there's that. But I wasn't going to go at this in a journalistic way. It was very important to
Mm,
me not to write a memoir as a journalist, meaning, oh, I got a fact check and I went here and on this day and then I had this on this day. It's Memoir is much more of an impressionistic piece of art
mm,
because it is really about who you are as a person and what built that. And that's not necessarily dates on a calendar.
right.
That's the feeling you had when your father said blank, the feelings you had when your mother didn't show up to an award ceremony, the feeling you had. Those are the things that shape you. And so that was important in terms of writing. And once I had landed on the framework of, let me have a conversation with my mother about why she didn't tell me, each chapter is titled because da, 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 as if it was her answer, because and we go through my life with her and her life, to come to the conclusion of where I am or was a couple years ago when I did end up finding out who he was. um, but it's not so much. A lot of people say it's journaling. I could never journal. Because I'll tell you why. It's a sad reason, but it's true. Because my mother used to go through my things.
Mm.
And I know this is very common. And if I wrote or even drew, because I like to draw and paint, if I did anything that she didn't like, or if I even read anything, she would look at what I was reading. I mean, just everything she would go through. I had no privacy. So the only place I could write was in my head.
Oof, that is
And
so
so I
deep.
became this like walking, talking, we used to say back in the day, camcorder,
Mm-hmm.
video quarter, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just would just, and I would constantly process and try to hold on to memories and be like, remember that this is big. Remember how you felt. Remember what things look like and how things felt, because this is important in your life. And I just knew those things. So that's what I did.
I think that's really relatable. There's a lot of us and the Eloeleros who grew up in small apartments in New York City, multiple siblings, where there was no privacy.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to keep a diary at one point, and of course, people read it. It had no lock, and if it did have a
Oh,
lock, those locks were easily pickable with a bobby pin. Okay, so you're absolutely right, and that really struck a chord. This is the best diary right here,
yeah. Right in your head. Yep.
and it stays there, especially if you take vitamin supplements like ginkgo biloba.
Ah, well, listen, you haven't talked to me now because your listeners know I am perimenopausal. So you know that I don't barely can remember people's names. But as you're going through life and growing up, I think we that's why we may forget someone's name, but we never forget the way they made us feel.
Yeah.
And that is what memoir is.
Speaking of the way you feel, was this book or is it still therapeutic for you? And if so, how?
No, it's out there. You know what happens is you do it and you release it into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes everyone else's therapy.
Mm.
And so what I don't want to say enjoyed, but I've appreciated is hearing from people and seeing the book continue to sell because word of mouth. I of course doing podcasts like this, but just in general, people talking about it and then reaching out to me and saying, this happened in my family, or I had a tough relationship with my mother and this helped me think of her differently. So now it's all you guys. This is
Did
for you.
did you intend to write this as a self-help book or did it
It's
sort
not
of
a self-help book,
just
but all memoir, and even I'll say even fiction, to
yeah.
me are the best self-help books
Yeah.
because they reflect back at you feelings that you've had or things that you want to pay attention to, and they show you that you are not alone. So I definitely feel that memoir and fiction are the best self-help books, for real.
Yeah. This is really thank you for being so open with us and sharing your amazing story. So now I'd like to rewind a little bit because I want to talk about how Carmen got here.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your past. Did you always want to be a journalist or did it sort of stumble into your lap? How did you get on the microphone?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've had about 10 careers. So I started, in my family, you could only be a doctor, a lawyer, or an MBA. My brother became the MBA. I started out pre-med. But not to bore you, let's just say life is about figuring out, always go towards what's making you happy. I started out in the art business. I was at Christie's auction house. I got to live in Santiago, Chile, in Mexico City. Back then it was DF. I got to travel the world in the art world, but it wasn't
Wow.
for me. I always was a writer, so it was about getting into that. And the only job at Time Inc. I wanted to be at Time Magazine, but the only opening they had was at Money Magazine. And my stepfather was a subscriber, and I read it everything that came through our mailbox. I read it all, so I knew all this stuff. So I was
Oh
like,
my.
sure, I'll do that for a little bit before I can get transferred to Time. 20 years later, I was at Fortune. Then I ended up with my own TV show on CNBC, which was 5 days a week plus weekends on the Today Show and during the week. That was the most incredibly intense time of my life. I
Wow.
also had my daughter and my bee, who is the light of my life and my North Star. And so I covered finance for a long time, advice columns, New York Times, all the news networks. And but I have a master's in applied psychology. So that all came together, and I became a professor on faculty at NYU in behavioral economics. Nerd alert!
I love
Nerd!
it. We're all nerds here. We're on a podcast. I am a
Nerd!
freaking podcaster.
I'm
Okay,
a
so
complete nerd.
I
Yeah.
am such a nerd, and I have to tell you, part of the reason why I know your work is because I also worked at Time Inc. for 8 years. I, I,
Really?
I was at People in Espanol at 1271 Avenue of the Americas
Yes.
from 2006 to 2014 in the marketing department.
Girl, I was gone by '06 was what I think was when I was gone. But we would have crossed paths for sure. But that was my building.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was on the 27th floor being judged by all the in style girls and the people style watch girls because
my
I'm wearing an outfit from Mandy to the Rescue and they're wearing
oh,
Gucci and Prada, but it's all
listen,
good.
nothing a little. Listen, I was at Christie's auction house. You know, I was at that. The Zara opened its first store. This is not an endorsement. I'm just letting you know. Back in 1990. That's okay. I'm gonna be 54. I'm cool with it. 1994, right? The first store in the city. They had a sale every year, like they do all the time, right? Where everything is like a majillion dollars
I
off.
love Zara,
Girl, I used to
yes.
go there and buy my whole wardrobe for Christie's. We're talking $5 skirts, $10, and all it takes is a good iron and some starch, and you stay clean, and you do that. You slick that hair, girl. We
Yes.
can all look good. Doesn't matter with the money. We can all look good.
I made it work, okay? And plus, I was
Right.
at People in Espanol, so it was a little, it was a little less like people-ish, and it was a little less in-stylish. We were our own little Latino world on the
Yes.
27th floor, and we shared the floor with Golf magazine, so
Golf.
imagínate.
Oh my God. What a contrast.
Yeah,
What
all of the like, hey, I want to go hit the greens this Saturday. We'd be like, yo, girl, you got a flat iron in your closet? Like,
oh my
it was
God. I
very
love it.
different.
I
But
love it.
let's talk about that era because I think we both went through such a fascinating era. Magazines, you young people out there, go Google what a magazine is. But I think it was the best time of my life. It was like Tale of Two Cities. It was the best time. It was the worst time. It was very hard working with my advertising sales partners in the marketing department. From my perspective, we were People in Espanol. We were this big in the building in 1271. But you step outside that building, we were the #1 Spanish language magazine. Okay,
That's
booyah.
right. That's right.
But it was always a fight. It was a really fun era, just like learning about the magazine business. Did that, and I have to thank that era in my life for a lot of the things that I'm doing today. Like I could write my own EPK. I do my own decks. I go on sales calls. I'm selling my own brand now. I'm selling Latinos Out Loud and Rachel La Freaking Loca. I'm not selling People in Espanol, but I have that training to thank to like
Yeah.
really be able to walk into a room with confidence and talk about my brands. What did that era do for your life? Now you're producing now, you're
Yes.
making films.
Yeah.
Do you have any of that magazine or past experience to thank or put you where you are today?
Well, yes, you will appreciate that the trailer for my film, our film, I should say, Shade, by the way, it's a documentary about Black Dominican models and racism at
Ooh.
home and in the business. And Shade comes out early next year. Vogue, Mexico, Latin America just premiered the trailer and wrote us up today. And
That's so
can
exciting!
I tell you, some people are just like, okay, like, like that's nice. And I'm like, no, you don't
No,
understand.
that's huge. Wait,
Magazine
I
for
gotta
a
give you the
former
guida for that.
magazine.
This is a
Look,
celebration.
look,
That's a celebration right there.
that's
Okay.
what I said. Because for magazine people, I was like taking screenshots of it and all this stuff. I was like, I wish I could hold it in my hands, because it's not, in print. But those brands in that time, it was like you, like, whoa, was it the best and the worst? Because you guys, I was a bit envious because you all had each other, right? But
Hmm.
at the same time, and sometimes the bosses would try to push me to People in Espanol. And what I would say to them is, it's not that I don't want to be there, it's that we belong everywhere.
Yes.
And there were none of us. I was it at Money and Fortune, where the money was at. Okay. I was there. We belong there too. We
Yeah.
belong everywhere.
Yeah.
So I will tell you this, though, it is a lonely place to be when you are the only. it was not fun. I definitely paid a big price for being the only, but at the same time, that enabled me to then have my TV career, get my first book deal, and do all of those things. But those spaces are incredibly difficult. But that learning, but then I became an advice columnist, which led to the TV too. Latina magazine, I was their money columnist, Essence, Good Housekeeping, Glamour, Men's Health, and Parade. And so that was a great, very fruitful, very busy, busy, busy time. But it definitely shaped so much of my career. And now we're full circle with
We're
Vogue
so
Makeover.
full circle. I also, yeah, and I worked at Latina at 2 points in my life. I was there. It was my dream job out of college. I really,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
wanted to work at Latina. I did not get, I interviewed, I didn't get the job. But then yeah, it's okay. It made me who I am today because a few
Of
months later,
course.
I got a call from Charlotte Castillo, who you may
Oh, I know
know.
Charlotte. Yes, I love Charlotte.
I love me some Charlotte,
I
okay?
love Charlotte.
So Charlotte hollered at me. She's like, "We have an opening, but in the research department. So you'll be doing
Sure.
MRI runs and helping the salespeople craft
I
stories." And I
remember
was like,
those.
"I don't know what that means, but sure." So I
Yep.
got the job, but I made it my own, and I eventually ended up doing more promotions. Then I got let go. I went to Editorial Televisa for a while, worked on Vanidades, and then came back. Or no, I went to People en Español, and then I went back there once I had my first boy as a freelancer. So
There you go. Yeah, and
yes,
I ended up a freelancer too, but also, getting laid off as an editor at Money Magazine was like devastating, but also the best thing to ever happen to me
yeah,
because it turned me, I had a book coming out. I had the columns. I just became a content machine. I turned around and made Time Inc. pay me twice as much for articles. I became a freelancer, but I made twice as much money. And
amazing.
I just turned myself into a business. And then the TV started. And yeah, just so you know, sometimes when you get let go is the best thing. Just know that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I've been in that position before where it's just giving me the push to do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, or someone says no, that door closes. You're not meant to go down that one. Go find another one or build one yourself for sure.
That's really inspiring. So, tell us about the transition to filmmaking.
So, listen, I've always been a producer as well. So once I went to TV, um, producing, as some of you may know, if you're in the business or around the business, is from either just finding financing, and or actually coming together and bringing the team together and overseeing things. It's almost like being a magazine editor.
Yeah.
It's very similar. So I got a ton of experience in that, doing 12 years of intense television. And this project Shade that's coming is a fantastic project that is the product of my memoir. So my memoir, and I believe this, and let me tell you, when you create something you put out into the world, people will be attracted to you, and sometimes they're the best people. They're people you want to have around.
Yeah.
And I was approached by a Dominican American filmmaker, or he actually, this is his first film, but he is a former journalist from Santo Domingo, Carlos Lamarche, and he was like, I loved your memoir. Would you come speak at this event that I'm putting together of Dominican voices, including Oz Dominguez?
Yay, wepa, Oz
And
Rodriguez.
then he approached me, and he was like, look, I have this film I've been trying to get made. And I was so like blown away by his ability to say what he means and means what he says, which means like if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And that's actually rare.
Yeah.
So I like to find people like that because I am that person as well.
Word.
And he does that, and he did that, and we put this all together, and it's coming. So I'm very, very, very excited. And my daughter's in film school, so we're just a bunch of
Ah,
film nerds. Again, nerd alert.
that's so
We're
great.
a bunch of nerds.
I say nerd alert so much, and that's from Austin Powers. I say it all the freaking time. I think I love you. Hope that's okay to say.
That's
Um,
totally fine. Love, love, love.
so that's okay. So you have to come back on the show when Shade is coming out. Are you
Oh, I would
looking for
love.
distribution, or is that your
Yes,
next
well,
step?
we're going to the film festival route first, probably in Europe in the spring. Where I'm speaking it to existence. It will end up
Yes.
with a big distributor, and we have a few in pocket at the moment. So we're very excited. And the response to the trailer, which just came out today, you can go to my social media, Carmen Rita Wong. or Malecon Productions is my production company.
I love that so much. Santo
Yeah,
Domingo. Okay.
Malecon. It's actually named for the restaurant in
Oh,
Washington
not the
Heights.
Malecon in like Santo Domingo.
No, I mean, no. I grew up with stories about the Malecon, right? Because my mother would talk about it, but it wasn't that. It was that when I was in graduate school, late nights, and I lived in the Heights when I was in graduate school, and I would go to Malecon and just it 4 in the morning, whatever. I
The
party.
chicken. Oh,
And
just chicken.
the mofongo, I would just that food and that atmosphere was just so healing. So I named the production company after it. Anyway, so yes, that will be coming out soon, and the response to the teaser has been so fantastic. So
We will include a link in the show notes because
great,
yes,
great,
let's tell everybody about this what sounds like a very impactful film.
wonderful.
Carmen, my last
Thank you.
question, which
Yeah.
I often ask many guests, is you've been through so much, you've walked down so many different career paths. If you had a younger Carmen Rita Wong in front of you right now, what would you tell her? What are some words of advice that you would have for her, knowing what you know today?
I actually wouldn't have advice. I'd just say to her, it's gonna be okay.
Mm.
That's all. I give her a big hug, say I love you, and it's gonna be okay. That's what she needed.
Gosh, my eyes are tearing a little bit.
Yeah,
That's like
that's all she
really,
needed.
that's
Yeah.
really sweet. Maybe it's not advice so much as it is just little confidence.
Oh, just love.
Believe in yourself.
And
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay in
Yeah.
the end. It's gonna be all right. That's what little me probably needed, just to, because when somebody says to you, it's gonna be okay, it's not like dismissing concerns. If it's someone from the future, someone who really loves you, what they're saying to you is it's gonna be okay because I'm here.
Mm. And I need to hear that sometimes. Even as a grown ass 45-year-old, I
Yeah.
sometimes need to be told, you know what, Rachel, it's going to be okay. No
Yeah.
matter how it works out. I had a really tough time in my life a few years ago where the doctors were like, you're infertile, you should look into surrogacy or adoption. And I wish I had more people to tell me at that point it was going to be okay. But eventually I was able to tell myself it's going to be okay. Don't give up. And I didn't. And I got my two little miracles, my two little milagros,
See?
the good old fashioned way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you,
I got
semen.
mine too.
Thank you, semen. Okay.
I
But
love it.
yeah, I didn't think it was going to be okay, but
It is, and that's the thing of looking at this book and how I end it, and I hope folks read it or listen to it because I do the audiobook. Um,
yes.
just really finding out through all the struggles, all the things that we go through, and these especially now, things are real tough on us now, right?
Yeah.
To just understand like things are going to be okay as long as we have each other
Yeah.
and
It,
we
it
have love in our lives, and I mean love like family and people who care about you and love you. That's going to make it okay.
If I may give the LOLeros a call to action right now, pick up the phone or send a text message to somebody who you think needs to hear these words. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Go do that, LOLeros. And make sure you go out and buy Carmen Rita Wong's book, Why Didn't You Tell Me? This will move you. I'm not done with it yet, but this I'm going to take with me on the plane and finish it.
Yay.
As I told Carmen off air, this is the kind of book where I need to have a clear mind and really just be within the covers of this book. I don't want to be anywhere else but between the front and back cover when I have this book in my hand. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Latinos Out Loud podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please drop your social media handle one more time so everyone can go follow the amazement of Carmen Rita Wong.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Gracias, Rachel. It is just at Carmen Rita Wong. That's where you find me and all my stuff.
Yeah, so simple. LOLeros, you know what it is. This has been another episode of Latinos Out Loud. You can follow me at Rachel La Loca. You can also give us a call at 978 Latinos. Yeah, we got an old school phone number. What is that? Yeah, it's actually something that I memorize, and it's not just on a speed dial. 978 Latinos. Thank you, Carmen Rita Wong. Thank you to Isabel for connecting us and
Yes.
for all the connections that you've given me. This lady, ever have those like people in your life that's like, how am I connect your call? Please hold. How am I connect your call? Please hold. That's Isabel, and she makes the best connections ever. connector. Everybody needs a good dot connector like Isabel Rivera. Thank you, LOLeros. On that note, we out.
It's the Latinos Out Loud podcast.